little peace and some comfort knowing that even though they are on their own lifeboats, they are in an ocean full of them. And that just took me, that chokes me up.
Chokes me up, too.
That just takes me back to when I was with my mom and thinking that I'm alone doing this and trying to fight for her in my own way. And you don't think about the other people out there that are doing the same thing or that maybe can reach out and help you.
Well, that's what I wanted Gracefully Gone to be. That at first I was writing it for myself, to find some clarity, to find something in my father's writings, something that would, I don't know, just so I could spend more time with him.
Right.
Just reading his words. And then the more I read them and the more I started to remember and looking at my own journals. And again, like I say, memories are uniquely one's own. They're just like a fingerprint. So I remain in study of my thumb in search of my father. And I realized that if this was helping me to kind of heal from it, then perhaps it might be able to help other people like you. That's like my dear friend who just lost her mother. We're all in this together. I don't know, really, unfortunately, one person whose lives have not been touched by the loss of a loved one from cancer.
Right, exactly.
And we are all in an ocean dotted with dinghies. We're all just holding on.
That's right.
That's so very
More
true. I know
so
that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, that's all right. Go ahead.
No, I forgot. You go ahead. That happens to me. I forget my train of thought. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know that I believe I read that your father was an actor as well.
Yes, from what I remember and from what I have been told, my father's greatest dream was to be on a soap opera as a contract player, much like what I did on Another World.
Oh, my gosh.
And he was always like a day player here and there. He was a model, and he did commercials, national commercials and regional ones as well. And then, of course, kids came along and things changed, and he went to work for my grandfather's company, my mom's dad's company. But yes, it was something that that he always wanted to do. So when I told him, and I talk about this in the book, that I signed with Elite and that I was going to be a model and maybe an actress, I remember my mother was just like, "You empty your pockets.
Yeah,
you owe us." Like $200,000, Missy. And my father was just thrilled. He thought it was, he just thought it was the best thing in the world because it's always something that he wanted to do. And, of course, what happens when he dies is I get the contract role on Another World.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's such a huge impact, too. I mean, if you think about it, going from him wanting to do it, then him passing away, and then you getting the exact type of role that he wanted. My gosh, I can just imagine the tornado going around in your head at that time.
Yeah, that was a lot. It was just like, wow. I mean, I remember reading in my parents' Blue Canaan, pre-Canaan books, from church where they have to do that kind of thing, that he wanted to do that. And so reading that and then getting the audition and then actually getting the job. And it's shot in Brooklyn, in Flatbush, which is a little bit away from where my father grew up in Bensonhurst Bay Ridge. So I also say this in Gracefully Gone, that on Another World, not only did I get to fulfill my father's dream of being on a soap opera, but I got to walk the streets where he walked, becoming a young man, and I was becoming a young woman. So I think he was really holding my hand. He was guiding me through that terrible time and giving me somewhere to go through it, where he grew up, where he knew that I would learn and I would be safe.
It's like a mirror image almost between you and your dad, and I do believe that they walk us through life, even if we don't realize it, once they pass on. And the other thing, too, is with this book, it gives you something to pass on to your children to get to know your father. I'm sure you talked about him many times with them, but it gives them something, too, in writing and his journals to pass on to their children from generation to generation.
Well, that's a wonderful thing. I don't know that I actually thought about it like that, but yes, I talk about him all the time. And Esme is my middle child, and she's very matter-of-fact. And she'll say to me, so, Ma, your dad's the one that's dead, right? She's very, she just calls it like it is. And I'm like, yes, my father, Pat. Yeah, he's dead, right? Yes, he's dead. She really likes to put a big spotlight on it. But we talk about him all the time, and she'll even say, I have a grandpa who's dead. And so, so this will be a nice thing for them to read when they're old enough, because it talks about me, too. So there are certain things that I don't, that they're not ready yet to learn about their mother.
Right. How old are you?
But one day, Mila is 10, Esme is 4, and Greta is 3.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely not of age yet.
Yes. No, they are not of age yet. But Gracefully Gone is my attempt to find my father again and to introduce my father to the world, because the world should know who he is. He was a remarkable man. And yes, thanks to your words, my daughters will know their grandfather, at least a part of him. They'll get to see his hope and his courage and his love for me and my brother and my mom.
Oh. That's so wonderful. I mean, if you think about it, everybody should do something like that if they have anything of their parent or their grandparent or their aunt or their uncle or their sister or the brother, whoever. You know, everybody should get together something like that, even just a scrapbook of some kind to pass on, because after my mom passed, I really didn't have too much of hers. And the little bit that I did get, I've held on to dearly. And mind you, one of those items happened to be just one of her favorite blouses. And I would, I don't know if my children are going to want that, but, it's something that keeps me close to her. When I open up my closet, I see that shirt, and I, always think of my mother. So there's many ways to keep your loved ones alive.
That's right. My father wore a "Don't Worry, Be Happy" T-shirt in the hospital. You remember that? Don't worry, be happy.
Oh, my.
Yeah. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
I do.
And so I have that. I have a pair of his shoes, and I have a pair of his glasses. And I've always asked, when like my godmother died, or when my grandmother or whatever, I always wanted to have a pair of their glasses or their shoes, or something that was really important to them, because then I remember putting on my dad's shoes and trying to feel for just a second what it might have been like to walk in them. Mm-hmm. And I remember putting on his glasses and trying to think for just a second what he saw when he looked out. And so those are the three things that I have of my dad. And the "Don't Worry, Be Happy" shirt I wear to bed every night. It's not the sexiest thing. It's shocking how I got 3 kids wearing that, but I did. Clearly my husband overlooked it.
Yeah. I think he had no choice.
Exactly.
But I'm also happy to know I'm not the only one that took an article of clothing. So.
Oh, no. I think it's important. It's important to have those things,
I took an article too.
Yeah. What do you have, David?
I took an article of clothing too from my father.
What do you have?
I have a pair of his old shoes.
See?
That he was very comfortable in. And I go look at it occasionally, and it takes me back.
Yeah.
Do they fit you, David?
Yeah, they fit you. Can you wear them?
No, they're too small for me.
Oh, okay. Just curious.
No.
That's funny. Well, that's great. Yeah, we should all do that. And that's what I've tried to do. I don't know if I've achieved it, but I tried it, and now it's out there for everybody else to decide.
I think so. To me, in my opinion, you did, and only by the little bit that I've read, like I said, I can relate to you in so many ways and what you went through and your family went through and that. So there's so many of us out there, I think if they read that book, they would all be crying and smiling and laughing all with you.
Well, I hope so, because one of the ideas that or not an idea, but the concept that I've been trying to get across is, yes, my book is about my father and I and about his fight with brain cancer and then my struggle to grow up within that fight. And that's heavy and it's sad at times, but it's also really funny. I mean, there are some funny things, and I'm funny, and I tell things in a funny way. I write like I speak, and, good, bad, or indifferent. It is, it is what it is. But I try to tell people it's not all awful. I mean, there were some really great moments that I got to have with my dad, or that we all got to have as a family. There are some really funny times. And I'm grateful for that, because I think, and I could be wrong here, but I think that when a family is going through this type of struggle, it's almost as if every day is chock full. Like I always say, to my husband or to my friends who know me, a day isn't full for me unless I've laughed till I've peed, I've cried, I've yelled, I've eaten, I've had some wine, I've had like a good day, and I've experienced all of it. And I think that when you're taking care of somebody who's dying, every minute is chock full of all of that stuff.
It is.
As it should be.
It really is.
So you get as much life as you possibly can, be it good or bad, in the short time that you're allowed to have.
Right. And I wish that maybe if some people are reading your book, they understand how important it is to stay together as a family once that loved one has passed away. Because a lot of them break up and go in different directions.
And I understand that. I do understand that. I think it's just like, once the love boat, once the Titanic sinks, what are lifeboats attached to?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
So you almost have to cut. You got to cut bait, and move on. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be literally, that you have to cut all ties. But definitely, I think there is or at least the way I'm going to interpret what you're saying is you do have to move on. You can stay together in your love for each other, but you have to go and live your life. You have to move on. You have to let it be what it is. It can inform you, but it shouldn't define you.
Right, exactly. I think so too. I mean, it's
because I know my
years.
My mom sold the house. She sold the house immediately. She moved out to Montauk, where she was building a home for my dad, and my brother went off to college. I went and did another world, and I think we all needed to have that separation for a bit.
Right.
I think we all needed to take a breather.
But you came back together at a certain point.
We did come back together. Absolutely. And I think maybe is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and some people don't come back. I mean, that's just one of the things that happened with my family and with my sister.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I don't know if it was too hard for her to be within the family because of my mom's passing. I don't know. I can't explain it, but I still try to reach out to her 23 years later. So maybe one of these days that'll happen. But, the rest of the family stay together, so that's one good thing.
I don't even know how to respond to that other than I'm sorry, and I hope,
that's okay.
Wherever she is, she's finding some peace for herself.
Yeah. I mean, just everybody handles death differently. And I had to come to that understanding, eventually, because, of course, I was mad about it for a long time and hurt. But, I talked with my relatives and talked with my friends and just came to understand it. So, I think that one day, maybe she will reach out back to me, and that'll be a good thing. And I'm here to welcome her back anytime. So
that's wonderful. And you know what? Maybe she's listening right now and she heard that.
Well, I hope so. Thank you. Well, I'd like to let our listeners know where it's available besides Amazon. Is it available like on iTunes or something where they could download it?
It's also on